Hey guys, it's Rick. I'm back, and as I promised, I would have a guest this week. Okay, so we are going to be talking about hormone replacement theory or hormone replacement therapy, TRT, and a lot of sort of tangentially related issues that work along with that. And really, it's about lifestyle. And with me today is Sam Ridgeway. Sam, can you give us your own introduction?
Hey, Rick. Yeah, and thanks for having me on. Yeah, I own Viking Alternative Medicine, which is a hormone clinic. We're in 48 of 50 states. We're not in Alabama or Mississippi, just because it's extremely difficult legally to work in those areas unless you physically have a location. But I've been doing it for 3 years, and started this because of my own journey and my own issues that I had, and the fact that hormone replacement therapy fixed those, which we'll probably go into in a minute. But beyond that, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have an insurance agency, peptide company, weight loss clinic. My favorite is definitely hormone therapy.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, the reason I wanted to have you on, and I don't want to go full infomercial here, but the reason I wanted to talk to you is I recently just found out about Viking Alternative a couple months ago. I saw one of your videos, and I thought, this is interesting stuff. Let's explore it a bit further. And my experience has just been fantastic. So I reached out, I contacted, I believe it was Jen, and within like really days, she had labs set up for me, and a doctor's consult over the phone, and just everything went really smoothly and really quickly. And basically, I was able to get set up on Tirzepatide. And I mean, my own experience, I've dieted many times over the years. I was a power lifter, so I used to work my way up and then work my way down and lose a little bit of weight and stuff like that. And it was always kind of the same thing. The first week or so, I'd have to white knuckle my way through. And I'm a big guy, as are you. And food definitely has an appeal to me. But so I took this Tirzepatide, and within the first 7 days, I lost 14 pounds. And I mean, typically, if I go on a diet and I'm super strict, I'll lose maybe 6, maybe 7, right? And I was maintaining protein and everything, and I was just absolutely blown away. So I've really gone into a deep dive into just all of this stuff and how it works, and just the way it's changing people's lives, right? Like you're about my age, right? I'm 50.
I'm 56.
56.
I'm 56, so it's right in the same area.
Yeah, we could have been in the same high school together, right?
Right. Yeah.
Now, when you and I were kids, I'm going to share a picture with you here. So when you and I, do you recognize these guys?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, we got a lot of our younger viewers won't have a clue who they are, but I mean, these were kind of icons in the 70s and 80s. And every single guy in this picture is younger than us. So when I was a kid and I pictured 50, this is kind of what I pictured. Would that be the same for you?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was old. I remember sitting there. It was an eclipse. I was like maybe 7, 8 years old out on the playground, and they gave us those little things. You didn't look directly at the eclipse, right? You looked into your pinhole box, right? And then what they had said was there won't be another eclipse until, and they gave the date. I did the math in my head. I remember I was going to be 33. And you know how those things stick out in your mind, certain things that happened to you. At that point in time, I thought 33, I was just ancient. So even as I grew older, 50 was just like, I mean, you were just on your way to death, like on a rocket slide. So absolutely. And you look at those guys and you say they're younger than us in those pictures.
Yeah, the oldest one in there was about 50, 54, 55.
Yeah, and and again, just from my journey alone, when I was almost 400 pounds, pre-diabetic, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all those things, and hormone therapy came in and fixed all of that for me. It didn't matter. I went to the gym, I did all these things, and it just wasn't working. Like nothing worked, which of course you become, you're not going to go to work if you don't get paid. And I felt like I was going to the gym and I wasn't getting paid. And that has a catalyst or has a ripple effect into a number of other things: weight loss, mood, sleep, lean muscle mass, where you look decent or you don't. So all of those things all come together. But when you look at those 50-year-olds like Archie Bunker, and so at that point in time, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's just gotten gotten worse. I mean, back at that time, you still didn't have the epidemic of the obesity like you have today. You look at today's 50-year-olds, and almost every one of them is like that. You can look on Facebook and you can see for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an interesting situation. I mean, the overall health has kind of gotten worse a lot, and yet the expectation, like, I think people in our generation, previously as guys got older, they would modify their life quite a bit. Maybe they would play golf on the weekends, but most of it would be bowling or drinking and the occasional card game. Whereas I think our generation, we still have this expectation that we can live more or less the way we did when we were younger, that we can work out 4 times a week, that we can be active, and that we're not going to sacrifice. And I think that's really probably pushing interest in things like this.
Yeah, I think society has a lot to do with it. And if you really look at it, a woman who gets heavy gets crucified, right? I mean, it's absolutely torn apart. And it's not by men. Men aren't the ones doing it. It's other women. Women are vicious toward each other, right? But a man can get fat. He can lose all of his hair. He can do all of these things, and he becomes, let's just say, distinguished. I mean, that's how society puts it in. So a man really doesn't, like, when I'm in Mexico, I go to Mexico a lot. I don't know Spanish. Why don't I know Spanish? Because I don't have to speak Spanish. Because when I go to Mexico, everybody speaks English to me. Right. So just like in this whole entire health thing, if you're going to be okay when you go out and nobody's going to crucify you over the fact that you have 50 extra pounds on you and 4 chins, there's really not any incentive to change, because society says that's okay. And that's from the man's side of things. So I don't think there's that whole societal thing placed upon a man to do anything. Where we get a lot of people is on the sexual side. A man can have his arm severed. He'll walk around with one arm. He's okay with that. You start messing with stuff down there, and all of a sudden it needs to be fixed yesterday. So a lot of our people happen when you have bad lifestyle choices. You start getting overweight, estrogen starts building up, starts causing ED. That's when they start getting involved in the whole entire thing. So that's where you get a lot of our people. But yeah, it's definitely an epidemic. It's not getting any better. And I think if society would come back in and stop allowing people at a party to talk about they're on Crestor, I'm on Lipitor, I'm on this, I'm on that, I'm on insulin, I mean, all these things. And it's like, yeah. But if you say I'm on hormone therapy and you don't have any of those problems, you have to whisper it, because that's still taboo. It's getting less and less, but still a lot of people just aren't really comfortable with telling people that they're on hormone therapy. Even though if you see a guy that's 50, 55 years old, he's really good shape, the chances he is on hormone therapy are probably about 99%.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, the reaction is, it can be pretty surprising. I mean, something like Viking Alternative, would a company like that even exist 20 years ago?
I don't think so, because they were really hard on, well, a lot of it goes back to misinformation, right? Hormone therapy today, as they see things, it's beneficial to your health. But the average person doesn't think that. There are a couple of reasons. One of them is because of all the misinformation that came through, where they took stuff from like the Arnold Schwarzenegger days. And so there was no regulation whatsoever. They certainly weren't getting therapeutic doses of testosterone. They were doing, 20, 30 times what any normal person on a therapeutic dose would do. And of course, you're going to have problems. But you drink too much water, you can have problems. I mean, anything done to excess is going to cause issues. But now that people have been on actual therapeutic doses of hormone therapy, they have data from over 15, 20 years now. And they're looking at that. And now they're saying, you know what, these heart attacks and the rest of the stuff, when we really dig into it, that's low testosterone. That's from you not having enough testosterone. You beef that up, you're going to have, you're not going to have nearly as many problems, or the lesser the probability of problems that you'll have. But it's still taboo in the medical field as well, because we'll have cardiologists and general practitioners send us patients. A cardiologist sending me a patient because he doesn't want the liability. Because even though you can go through and you can prove that this didn't do anything negative, actually beneficial, if you're sitting in court because they're a widow and some guy had a heart attack and he was on hormone therapy, you got a jury of 12 people sitting there looking at a widow. They're not going to side with the doctor who's pulling $500,000 a year. That's going to be the enemy. They're going to crucify him, even though it had nothing to do whatsoever. So we're in a very litigious society. First of all, you get sued over anything. So they just don't even want the possibility that it can even come in and be used against them in like a court setting. So that's another reason why it's it's still under that whole taboo spectrum, and why part of what I want to do at Viking is bring that out, where people understand it's far better to be on something that puts your body back the way it was, and you don't need these other medications.
Yeah.
You take one med, which leads to another med from the side effects from the one med, and pretty soon you're on 8, 10 medications, and they're all just jacking with you. That's what ends up happening. And big pharma, I mean, you got commercials. Nowhere else in the world, I think, can you do a commercial on drugs, like from pharmaceutical companies. That's outlawed in Canada. That's outlawed in a whole number of different countries. And there's a reason for it. I mean, they're just pushing this stuff like, oh, it's just rainbows, lollipops, and kittens, right? If you take these things, and then at the end of it, they give this little really fast speech about all the rest of the stuff it does to you, potentially. Anyway, I think Americans have just bought into the whole, I'd rather take a pill for that and continue my lifestyle. I'm going to eat whatever I want. I'm going to drink whenever I want. I'm going to do all these things. And I'm just going to take this pill and things are going to go away. And unfortunately, it doesn't happen like that, but it's so slow that gradual digression of physical, like of your body happens so slow, people just don't even realize it till it's too late, and then they're too far gone. They're past the point of no return.
Yeah, and I mean, you make a good point with the kind of the medical establishment is, a little reticent or hesitant to really do anything just because they're so concerned with liability. And then you have the other side of that where, there's underground labs or, stuff you can buy out of the back of a truck, right? Which really gives you no kind of faith in the process at all. And so that's kind of where you guys are in a nice area, right?
That's one of the reasons why I switched. That's why I went legal. Right. Like most people, I started off with UGL stuff, which worked fine for about 4 or 5 months. And then I got this vial one time and I put it in my leg, and all of a sudden I had this lump the size of a golf ball or bigger. And I'm like, okay, maybe I stuck myself weird. So the next week, the other leg, same thing, golf ball. And then like an idiot, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I stuck myself weird twice. And I did it a third time. Now, okay, it didn't kill me or anything like that, but I don't know what was in there, right? And so you have absolutely no idea. There's no regulation on that stuff. There's nobody, these companies, your health is not their number one concern. Let's just put it that way. Profit is their number one concern. So you're going to get your stuff from China. You're going to not really third-party test the product before you stick it into a vial for somebody, because you don't care. All you're worried about is money. And to be honest, hormone therapy on the legal side of it really is not that much more expensive than the bootleg stuff. And it's regulated. The feds come in all the time. They check for purity. They check for OSHA standards. They check for all different kinds of things. And you know that product that you got last time is going to be the same product you get next time. And that sort of reliability is very important when you're talking about hormones, because you don't want one time you're getting the equivalent of 300 meg a week, and another time you're getting the equivalent of 150 meg a week, milligrams a week, because the place you're getting it from has absolutely no idea what's really in their product, nor where that product came from. So it's just really not worth it, because like I said, I didn't get hurt severely, but I could have. I have no idea. I mean, it's not like I'm using something to spray down the counters to clean. I mean, I'm injecting a substance into my body that changes my hormones, which regulate everything that happens to my body. When you really look at it at that level, it's some important stuff to make sure that it's pure.
Yeah. I mean, it just pays to be a little bit more cautious, right? And just from a consumer perspective, it's just nice to know that you can, there's access to a doctor that you can contact if you're unsure about, how the dose goes or any of that stuff. It's a lot of reassurance, right?
And not just the doctor, like we have, I mean, these guys, they don't teach hormone therapy in medical school. That's not one of the things that's taught. It's just too new, let's say. There's too much liability that comes with it, all the other things we've already talked about. But it's not something that you can go into as an up-and-coming doctor and get that education. So you have to do it out there in the field. You have to do it real time. You have to do it from people that have just seen things. There's no other way to do it than just on the job training sort of thing. And you see what happens, how hormones affecting when certain things happen, like acne or whatever the case may be. We know how to fix that because we run labs again. We see what you're deficient in. So we modify, we tweak, and we get you dialed in. But there's no way to do that other than just doing it. So that's what I'm meaning, that we've got 13 different medical providers, licensed medical providers that can script controlled substances, which is huge. I mean, there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of licenses, a lot of training to go into that. But anyway, they can actually do that. So we have a very professional, knowledgeable staff. And that's one of the things you want to do. Anybody can give you a vial of testosterone, and that's perfectly okay. Hormone therapy really isn't rocket science. The problem is when something goes wrong, then what do you do?
Yeah. Exactly.
Now where do I go? I'm not feeling well. I don't, these different things happen to me. Where do I go now? And nobody but someone who's been in the trenches for thousands of patients is going to understand what to do at that point in time. And that's really why you choose one clinic over another.
Yeah. And I mean, that right there is really a big thing. And I think the second, ace that you have up your sleeve is just you. My impression when I was watching a video is, oh, wow, okay. So, this guy's my age and look at him, he's jacked, right? He's taking this stuff. It's working for him. I mean, nobody wants to get diet advice from, some skinny, fat old man that it looks like he's never been on a diet in his life. Right. I mean, it's just, it really lacks authenticity, but I didn't know you were 400 pounds at one point. Can you tell us about that and your own kind of process?
Yeah, it was maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago or something like that. And I mean, my weight had always fluctuated, and I always had a slow metabolism genetically. So I could get big, like muscle big, but I could also get big, like fat big. My body just kept nutrients, I guess, so you'd say. But my metabolism was relatively slow. So as you go along in life and get older, your metabolism normally, it just naturally slows down on its own, which it was already slow to begin with. So I didn't really need that, but it decided I did. So that's kind of how that one started. And then I just got to be that at that point. And it happened so gradually, like we talked about before. You don't even realize it until you look at pictures of yourself and you're just like, holy shit, is that me? Like, but my epiphany moment was in that whole entire thing of getting big, that stress on your knees, your joints, all the rest of these things. I had broken my ankle, and it never really healed properly, and it would hurt when the weather changed, things like that would hurt. My elbow, I couldn't really pick anything up. I had like tennis elbow or whatever in it. It was horrible. My back would go out about every quarter. So about every 2-3 months, my back would go out. I'd go down to the local urgent care, get some Flexeril, hydrocodone, and I'd lie in bed for about 3 days till it fixed itself, and I'd get out, and then go back. But everything was just horrible. But I remember I was sitting in the bathroom one day. I was going to the bathroom. I was finished to wipe my ass. I could not turn around to wipe my own ass. That's how jacked up my body was, my core was. I couldn't even go there. So I thought to myself right there, I remember sitting there, just like that time when I had that eclipse thing back in grade school. I remember sitting, because it was a defining moment in my life. I was like, this isn't going to get better. Like, this is where you are. You're 50 years old. This is where you are. It's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. You're going to be 60 years old. You're not going to be able to turn around. You're going to have who knows, wheelchair, whatever the case may be. I mean, diabetes and all of these things, you just start up slowly and then just cascade, and then the whole entire body just falls apart. You're just a mess, strokes and all the rest, dialysis, and before you know it. So I remember sitting there thinking, this is never going to get any better. You need to do something now to change this. And I started looking around. I saw the hormone therapy thing. I started doing it, and then it turned around for me, right? And then I was able to go to the gym. I was getting paid when I went to the gym. I was getting lean muscle mass. My metabolism picked back up. And as I started getting into it more and more, I got to the point to where I'm now taking things like Armour Thyroid, which totally speeds up my metabolism, Testosterone, I also take Tirzepatide, just like you do. And all of these things together, things that I've tried over the past few years, I think I've got like the magic potion. I take human growth hormone as well. But anyway, all of these things come together to where I went in to get a DEXA scan and RMR, where they find out what your resting metabolic rate is. How many calories do you burn at rest? That's basically what it is. Yeah. And so from a genetically slothy metabolism that I've had my entire life, and the yo-yoing up and down or so on, now when I check my thing, I have an extremely fast metabolism. So everything that I'm eating, I could eat 4,000 calories a day and not gain any weight.
Would you attribute that to what you're taking, or just the fact that you've added more muscle mass?
100% to what I'm taking. I mean, my body, because even with the Tirzepatide, it doesn't empty your stomach as much as quickly. That's one of the things it does. So you stay full faster. It also does nutrition partitioning, where it takes like a sugar molecule, won't get stored. It'll get burned off instead. Your body, like the gatekeeper says, no, don't store that, burn that off. And then it also goes up the receptors to your brain, and it tells them you're full as well. So all of these things working together, and the nutrition partitioning on top of it, means that the food that I do eat gets totally used in a far more in a far better manner than it did before. Like instead of just storing fat like it's its job, it actually burns it off. So all of those medications collectively, and again, I tried all kinds of things because I guinea pig myself. But the stuff I'm on right now, I would say is probably the recipe. I would say if you want your metabolism to be fast, I think I've nailed it.
And that's Tirzepatide, you said?
Yeah, Tirzepatide, I take HGH.
Right.
I take Testosterone, which is a little pill that you take that. And I also take, the other one would be Armour Thyroid. And Armour Thyroid, again, is to speed up my thyroid. There's nothing wrong with my thyroid. I just want to get it into overdrive. It doesn't hurt you. It's not, it has no negativity whatsoever. It just speeds up your metabolism, your whole body, because that's where the control's from. So you titrate it up over the course of about 6 months, where I went half a grain. Then 3 weeks later, I went to a grain and a half, 2 grains. And that's just the grain is just the pills. But anyway, so yeah, so I got my metabolism from nothing at all, horrible, terrible, to where it's as fast as it can get. Like I can just burn stuff off. I don't abuse it, right? I mean, I eat well 80% of the time, 20% of the time I screw off. But I'll have margaritas, pizza, all the rest of that stuff. I don't sit around and worry about egg whites and things like that. And that's kind of where you want to get. The average person isn't going to step on stage, right? So the average person doesn't, getting ripped, first of all, isn't even good for you, right? Because you're just dieting down and you're not putting the nutrients into your body whatsoever. But to have a physique where you look in the mirror and you're like, I feel good about that. And to go to a pool party and take off your shirt and feel good about that. To go at night, climbing into bed with your significant other, and she's like, get your ass in here. You feel good about that. Those are the things that you want. You just want to feel good about your physique and mentally and all the rest of those things, which is what hormone therapy does. But you need to be confident within yourself. That's really what you need to do. But you don't need to go to the extremes. At that party the pool party where you took off your shirt, you can also go over and have 3-4 pieces of pizza and not have to worry about it. That's where you want to get. You don't want to get into every meal that you take. You're beating yourself up. Oh my gosh, I can't eat that. I can't eat that. Give me the piece of lettuce. That's no way to live. You have to be able to live and look good at the same time.
I think you make a good point there. I mean, that's one of the hardest things. I mean, getting in shape is one thing, but you want to have a lifestyle that you can still enjoy and you can participate in normal things. You don't want to just constantly, I think it's very hard mentally to be in a constant state of restriction as well, right?
Oh, it's physically and mentally taxing. Yeah, because you just feel like drained, So, but if you could go through and you could eat pretty much what you want, you stay, you err on the side of good food, with chicken and fish and steak and all those things, but you can still have the French fries and the rest of the stuff. If you make a lifestyle like that, a person can only, that's like with keto. I feel like totally weak on keto, so I can't do it. But even if I could, there's only a certain period of time that the average person can not eat bread and pasta and so on. And you run that out, and they all talk about, a lot of it's water that you're losing though, because you're taking carbohydrates, which reduces the amount of water in your cells and so on. But anyway, people lose weight, and it's about 15, maybe 15 days, 30 days, maybe 60, 90 tops. And then they're back on to, eating bread and pastas. And then the end result is they're 5 pounds heavier than when they started. So these restrictive fad sort of diet things where you just restrict an entire food group from your diet doesn't work. Just eat right. Log your calories. Right? Most people don't know how much food they're eating at all until you use MyFitnessPal and you go through the whole entire day and you're, holy shit, I ate 5,000 calories. In your head, you're dieting, but on paper. So you need to do these things to get your mind and your body to understand what a portion size is. Because as Americans, a portion size, but should be a portion size for our bodies, is like 4 times
evolved over the years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting what you say on how it creeps up on you. How when anorexics look in a mirror, no matter how skinny they are, they still see someone fat?
Body dysmorphia, it's a real thing.
Yeah, well, I have a similar kind of thing in that I'll look in the mirror and I'll think, hey, you look pretty good. But then these little things just start creeping up on you. I was getting hip pain. The hardest part of my workout was putting on my shoes, stuff like that. And then finally I saw myself in a security camera. I'm like, oh, dude, man, you're getting pretty thick there. So yeah, it does creep up on you. And so you, like you say, you've experimented with a lot of stuff on yourself over the years. What have you found that's that just hasn't worked, or is maybe kind of oversold, or just,
Yeah.
not
I
sure.
think pretty much steroids in general are oversold. And we have because you have legal Anavar, you have legal D-bol. And these things will do something to your body. Do you gain muscle off of them? Yes, you do. But when you're off of them for a couple of months, you basically lose almost everything that you had. And then you're back to square one, where you have to go on another cycle and you have to do it again. I mean, you might ratchet up a little bit as you keep a little bit, but for the average person that's not in the gym all the time, that's not putting down, 400 grams of protein a day and all the rest of these things, for the average person that just wants to look better in a swimsuit, they take these things, these steroids, and I'm going to call them that because there's really no benefit to the body whatsoever aside from aesthetics. That's what I'm going to call a steroid. And they do these things, and it's so hard on the body. Like, you look at your cholesterol, you look at your liver while you're going through it, and it's just totally taken everything inside of you. And then 2 months later, you've lost 99% of it anyway. And these people just keep doing this repetitive cycle of these things, like the Anavars, the D-balls, and those, maybe some Tren or whatever. I mean, if you just go, I think part of the problem is Americans and instant gratification, right? I want to start something and I want to do it, and then in a week, I want to see the results. I want to be like a Greek god in a week, and it doesn't work that way. So the point with all of that is for people to not cycle, Tren and D-bol and Anavar and all of these things. Just do testosterone if you qualify for that, and just do it at a slow and steady pace. And if you go to do that, you're going to be perfectly fine. And in the end, you're going to be just as good as you would have been through the other steroids in the end of it, and you wouldn't have put your body through all of that stress. So I would say number one would be those. There are other things like peptides. Like, I never found like AOD, which is a portion of the HGH segment that's supposed to be the fat burning portion. There was all the rage about this is gonna, make you lose weight. Never saw any significant anything with it. There's MOTS-c, which is another one supposed to make you lose all this weight. Never. The only thing I've seen that actually will make you lose weight relatively quickly is Tirzepatide and semaglutide, the newer GLP-1s that came out. Those exceed expectation. And in a world of promises, because we all have probably a cabinet of supplements we've tried that had all these promises and everything. You see them on Facebook all the time, ads, or Instagram, wherever you go. You're going to lose this, you're going to do that. Every one of those, not one of those has panned out ever in my life, ever.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get promised all of these things. So we get into this, I think we get to a point in our life where all of this stuff in our minds is too good to be true. It's never going to happen. Pipe dream. Tirzepatide and semaglutide, those are the two things that I say will actually make you lose weight, as you said, and will actually exceed expectation, and instead of being disappointing like everything else I've tried out there. And then just making sure at our age, at 40 and older, that your hormones are balanced. Because then if you don't have your hormones balanced, your body isn't operating efficiently. So, it's like putting water into the gas in your gas tank. I mean, you need to have like straight fuel, like where your body can all of your different organs and all your different processes can function optimally. And that's what hormone therapy does. It doesn't do anything but brings you back to where you were, let's say in your early 30s, maybe. And now your body's more efficient. Now you don't have to worry about, if you smell a donut, you gain 5 pounds. You don't have to worry about libido, ED, all of these things. It's not a guaranteed fix, but it seems like it should. If you're having any of these issues, you're tired, you have brain fog, you're losing muscle mass and so on, you're getting fatter, all of those, you should at least look at that if you're over 40 as an option. Is this the problem? And if it's not, hey, at least you know what it's not. But if it is, which is what it probably is in, I'd say 90% of the cases, it is fixable. And the sooner you fix it, the better.
And do you get a lot of positive feedback on, customers that you've worked with, and just how it's altered their life or affected their life?
Yeah, it's a very rewarding job for not just myself, but all of our providers and all of our office staff. We have 26 people that work for Viking that make the engine run.
Wow.
And yeah, on a daily basis, you've saved me, you've saved my marriage, you've saved, because as a guy, if you're not feeling confident about yourself, that's going to affect every other aspect of your life. If you're hurting, wherever you go, if your life if you're not confident in that, you're not going to go out and project confidence. And when you don't go out and project confidence, then you get what you get what you expect, right? So a lot of guys out there, if you get that confidence back and so on, it helps your business, it helps your relationships, and you and your spouse together. That, of course, ripple effect comes off to your friends, comes off to your children, comes off to everybody. It just makes life so much better when a person looks in the mirror and feels physically and mentally sharp. It's a totally different game out there when you feel good about yourself as when you don't.
Yeah, and it must be great to hear that kind of feedback too, right?
Oh yeah, all the time, and it's constant. I mean, probably 5, 6, 7 email messages a week, right? Which is a lot of people, because there are a lot of people feeling like that just never went and sent a message saying that they, the thank you and the rest of it. So just to get the ones that do, that is incredible. So yes, very rewarding job. I'm glad I set Viking up, and we do what we do, and we don't just go with hormone therapies, testosterone, and that. We do men and women also, which is a big difference from a lot of clinics. A lot of clinics just do men because women are far more complicated, to be honest with you, in real life and in the medicinal world. And
Yeah.
so so doing the women's side of it is far more complicated. But all of our people are 100% well-versed on both men and women. And with women, it's actually more of a dramatic effect than it is with men, to be honest with you. And that's one of the things we're doing, is we're getting the word out for women. Hot flashes, you never have to have another hot flash in your life. My wife covers on, covers off, miserable, irritable, all the rest of that. I'm like, babe, we own a hormone clinic. Let's go. You're like, yeah. That's my wife, right? Just go to her. She goes in there 3 weeks later, never hot flash, feels amazing, started sleeping like a baby. Her metabolism went back into overdrive, all this stuff. She's like, I am never getting off of this stuff at all. And a lot of our patients, we get the guy in, we fix him. The wife is very reluctant, very skeptical about this whole entire thing, starts seeing all the results in the guy. And she's like, okay, maybe this thing does have some merit. She comes in, gets her labs done. She goes on. And now both of them are like teenagers again. Like people that used to sleep in different rooms, they're now like
Wow.
sexual deviants.
So what would women be taking?
They usually take testosterone, first of all, because a woman's testosterone will go down, which will make more estrogen. When more estrogen comes in, you start getting fatter. And just like when the time of the month, they get irritable. All of these different things come off of excess estrogen. As men, that whole roid rage isn't because of testosterone. Testosterone doesn't make you crazy. It's the estrogen conversion that does. And it makes you irritable and makes you angry and all the rest of these things. So women need testosterone as well, and that declines with them. So what we do is we put testosterone back into them, which then starts this process in their bodies of aromatization, which turns testosterone into estrogen, but it's in a regulated fashion. So your body now makes enough estrogen that you needed, but it has enough testosterone to balance it out. Before, estrogen just spiking through the roof and didn't have a counterbalance, if you will, which is testosterone, to keep it in check. So we'll do a lot of times we'll do testosterone and progesterone, and that balances everything right back out. Because those huge estrogen spikes, that's the hot flash. That's why you feel hot. That's why you throw the covers off when it's still 90 degrees or 60 degrees, and you're feeling like you're sweating all over the place. So just different libido. The big thing for women, the weight loss thing, again, they get crucified if they start. It's got to be hard for a woman to start gaining weight, and there's nothing she can do to bring that down, especially in the world of, like I said, she gets crucified over it. So the weight loss thing, the sleeping thing is huge because you're not irritable anymore. You feel great. You're in a great mood. And the libido thing is, a lot of times it's for the women, they just don't feel like it. For the men, they just don't feel like it. It's hard to do something, obviously talking sexually, with your significant other if you're just not feeling it. You're going through the motions other than that. But when you think back to when you're like 20, 30, it was like, you were ready. Like, and that's really what causes a marriage to be a marriage. Other than that, it's just a tax deduction. You two live together in the same house, you get a tax deduction, but you're not intimate. The only thing that a couple does with themselves that they don't do with anybody else out there is intimacy. That's the only thing you don't share with anyone. And if that's not present in your marriage, personally, I don't think you have a marriage. So anyway, it's that important. Yeah, it's that important to have that cornerstone, that foundation in your relationship where you guys are intimate with each other and you do show each other that you care and you are aesthetically pleasing to the other person, where, all of these things that come together, it really puts you back decades.
Right. Okay, well, I know you have time restraints. I do want to hear your opinion on one more thing though. So, what sort of, I mean, it just seems like with peptides and all this stuff, like we're at a stage now where biotech really seems to be advancing. So, what kind of stuff are you seeing that's maybe out now that's unknown, or that you see coming down the pike that's really getting you excited?
I think the older stuff like the testosterone, I think those will always be just staple products. I think on the front of in the future, so I think for muscle mass and so on, they pretty much have it locked down. It's the weight loss side of things. That's where I really see the advancements. There's another one, retatrutide, which I did a couple months of retatrutide. That's the one, it was semaglutide first. We're talking for the GLP ones, where the fat loss medication. So there's semaglutide. Then Tirzepatide came out, which was semaglutide's daddy, if you want. And now there's one still in FDA, it hasn't been approved yet, called retatrutide. But I get it anyway and guinea pig it and try it. And that one's going to be like the next one. So you think Tirzepatide is good right now? Just wait till retatrutide gets done by the FDA.
You
But
notice
go ahead. What?
Sorry, you notice a difference with it?
I did notice it was better in the weight loss category because it works. Semaglutide works one way, Tirzepatide works another way, and retatrutide takes both of those and does them together. So it like aggregates both of those pathways to do a far better job.
Wow.
So that's going to be. So I think the problem most people have is weight related. That's a vast majority of our illnesses and our diseases. And if you can eliminate obesity while still, like, these things do other things, like they strengthen your heart. And I mean, a number of different other positives out of these things, right? I mean, semaglutide and Tirzepatide, just beyond weight loss. In fact, I mean, they've got the whole negativity, the thyroid or something, cancer, I think, but these things are extremely rare. This is one of those things where they gave mice 20, 30, 50 times what anybody else would. And one of them got a thyroid, nodule. But in order to keep out of court, they have to come in and say it may cause thyroid cancer, right? Well, it was one rat with 50 times, what anybody else would ever take was the problem, the reason why it's out there. But anyway, so those are the things I think that I'm really excited about, because I think we can decrease obesity and I think we can decrease illnesses. I think that takes away from our healthcare system, the burden on our healthcare system, and also takes all these people that have problems, not necessarily because they would have had problems anyway, but they have problems because they're on all of these medications to fix these obesity related illnesses, and those just cause side effects that they have, hurt joints, not enough nutrients, diarrhea, whatever the case may be. So I think if we fix obesity, I think we are going to fix a lot of things by itself. But we as a nation still have to put good food into our bodies. I mean, we still have to do that. So we have to work harder to not roll into McDonald's or Burger King or Jack in the Box. You can do that. You just can't do it all the time.
Yeah, I think you're right. Obesity is more or less, it triggers an avalanche of, just other health problems, right? So Sam, I'm going to ask you to do me one solid before I let you go.
Yep.
You work out a lot, obviously, right? So yep. I'm going to send you a pre-workout that I call my nuclear stack. One is a pre-workout. And have you ever taken Kratom before?
Oh, I take Kratom every day.
Oh, hey, this is perfect. These are products I make. And one of them is a Kratom that's blended with turmeric, bioperine, and MCT oil, and it's in a soft gel, so you don't get that horrible taste. But I'd like to send that to you and get your opinion on it and see what you think. I call it the nuclear stack because I take it and, man, I'm ready to go, right?
I'm ready for that. I love a good pre-workout. In a second, I will stress test the hell out of that stuff.
Awesome. Consider it done then. So before we finish off, is there anything you'd like to say? Any pertinent information people should know?
I would just say if you have an interest in hormone therapy, or if you're feeling sluggish and that kind of thing, you're just not feeling like a man anymore, and you're 40 years or older, I'd say go get tested, do some labs. It's $125 to get the labs done, and where your values sit. Again, if nothing's messed up, at least you've ruled that out as a possibility. But we can help you. Go anywhere. That's what I tell everybody. I just go somewhere. If you like a local sort of setting, that's perfectly fine. If you're fine with doing it from the comfort of your own home, you can call vikingalternative.com. That's our website. Go there, follow the instructions for getting started, and we'll get you the labs, have a consultation. All that's free. You only pay for your medications with us. So anyway, that's kind of what I would recommend. Just go do it, regardless of where you do it somewhere.
So, and if they want to work with you, the first step would just be contact Viking Alternative, and then someone will more or less walk them through the process.
Walk through the whole thing.
Yeah, that's how it worked for me, and it was really quick and efficient. Like I say, I'm a good testimony for you, because I was really happy with the results and the process.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Sam. I really enjoyed our talk. I think we stack well together, to use an industry term. Yeah. And yeah, onward and upward, and looking forward to a lot of things from Viking Alternative.
All right, sounds good. Thanks a bunch.
Okay,
thanks for having me on.